Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming. This is a Lishmah learning class about Challah, given by Mrs. Sally Cohen. Thank you for agreeing to speak with us. Hosted by Yeshivah. Thank you so much for having us. And let me just tell you a little bit about Lishmah. Lishmah is an organization, a committee through Yeshivah of Flatbush that provides learning for all different age groups, from middle school to high school, to young professionals, to women, to men and women. We just want people to learn for the sake of learning. So thank you so much for coming out. We hope you enjoy the class. The class is in memory. All summer Lishmah learning is in memory of Jack Charles Levy, Yeshivah of Flatbush. And we just strive to bring you guys, some learning and some inspiration, and we're happy to have you here. Enjoy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Is it okay that I'm sitting? You could all see me. Thank you, Rishi, for having me. It's nice to meet you. You have a beautiful home. It's an honor to speak today, and in memory of this boy, Jack Charles Levy. I heard all the summer learning is in his memory. And I pray that our learning today will elevate and comfort his family, elevate his soul. And hopefully everyone can take something out of it, take it home, and in his continue on with the things that we're going to learn today. Can you hear me? Everyone can hear me? We good? Okay. I'm going to move a little closer. Am I allowed with the computer? Yes. We good? Yeah, good. All right, great. So I'm not a great read from a speech kind of person. I'm going to go back and forth with my notes. I just have some bullet points here, so just so I don't forget something, because I really have a lot to say. It's an unbelievable topic. So I want to introduce myself. So my name is Sally Cohen. Most of you in the audience already do know me. I say a lot of them are my family members. But I don't know if you know that last year I began teaching Sephardic heritage at Hillel in Deal. And I learned a lot. I've been studying about it for a while. I attended a Legre Franco when I was in Brooklyn, and I loved the concept of Torah Lishmah. I actually started that way, and then realized in my learning how much I really wanted to give back. I moved to Deal, and the time became right, and this became something I was involved with. And over the course of my learning, there's so many different things that I could pick out, but one of them that really we can all relate to, that really truly sticks out in Sephardic heritage, is the pride and the joy that our community women take in the food that we prepare for our families. From that perfection of that pinch and curl sambusa, and the stuffing of that yabra, and rolling it to the right size with the pinky that they so much use, our grandmothers. Watching the mothers and grandmas and granddaughters get together and bring tradition to what they're doing. And having safed, because having safed means our meals bring us together, and it keeps our community tight. So through meals and Shabbat, that's what I would say is a big part of our heritage. And so with that in mind, I wanted to thank you for asking me to speak today, because I felt it was very relevant to the topic of Challah. So I'm excited. And making Challah is one of the most singular, unique mitzvot to women. There are three, and I know you know about them, and we're going to go and discuss them. But specifically, Challah, even more than candle lighting, is very unique to women, because candle lighting, I don't know if you do know, and we should tell the men in our lives that if there is a week that we can't light candles, it's required to be in the home. Men do need to light candles. But somehow the blessing for Challah is unique to women, as well as family purity, which I want to get into in a couple of minutes. Making Challah, I feel like sometimes it's the first thing we run to do when someone wants to get pregnant, or we're hoping for a bunch of girls to get married. We got a list together, or in your 9th month, everyone gets together, we make Challah. I find it an interesting mitzvah, because it's not so much a mitzvah as it is like a voluntary act that, when done, has a commandment. Meaning, it's not like God said, you got to do it now, but it's when it's done, there's a proper way to do it. And I feel like that's an outline for us. Like, it's not being said, do it now and here, but when it's done, do it the right way and like already that is something that we can relate to. So I had a question for everybody. And I feel like I'll get definitely a bunch of mixed answers here. And by the way, I'm very good with the back and forth. I don't want to read any questions, anything anyone wants to say, just feel free to reach out. So who likes to exercise? Well, I have a different question for you. Who likes to exercise? Why do you like to exercise? Very good. What about you? Why do you like to exercise? Fun. Socializing. For an hour. Anybody else? Any other things that would explain people's feeling of why they love to exercise? Because they have. It's true. That's really, and really everyone feels the same way. I think that like if we go into it with a clear head after we walk out with just, more central. Another question for those that maybe didn't relate to the exercise question, who likes to shop? I think we all like to shop until we get the bill. Or a husband get the bill, really. So I like to shop. Give me an example of what you like to shop for. Yeah, what do you like to shop for? Yes. Decorating the house. Anyone else? What do people like to shop for? Shoes, pocketbooks, decor, home goods that could spend all day at Home Sense. So these are some regular acts. So I find it that anything that we do in our lives that's a physical act can truly be elevated. From exercise to shopping, you could just say, I'm going to exercise, I'm going to meet people, whatever, I'm going to clear my head. But if you think about it in different terms, you think about, I'm going to exercise to clear my head, to clear my thoughts so that I could be in my right mindset all day, to get myself motivated. I can be strong, get my body in shape so that when my kids come home, I'm ready and strong and I feel, energized to take care of them. Another thing about exercising is like you just, you feel good about yourself and it makes you feel good so that you can be a better person and a better human. I think a lot of people feel that way. Shopping, again, sometimes we feel that like, oh my God, the bill, but how could we elevate shopping? Shopping for, yes? Beautiful. It's all about other people doing, making Shabbat, making a meal, going to the supermarket, putting something in your cart, throwing it in and maybe dropping it off to the food pantry. Everything we do could be elevated. Shopping in a store, putting it away and saying, I'm going to save it for the holiday or a Shabbat outfit, or you can elevate the things that you normally do and make them more spiritual. So the same with Challah. It's mundane. It could be the regular thing. My freezer's empty. I need to fill up and put some bread in it. Or you can think about it and really make it more elevated. I'm making it for the sake of, the mitzvah, or I'm making it because the holiday is coming up. I'm making Challah because it's about, homemade in my home for my family. So there's ways of making the physical things that we do more elevated. Does everyone get that? Oh, okay, good, perfect. So, moving along. Sorry that I have it all together. So what is Challah? What is Challah? Really, I should ask. What is Challah? I'm going to get into it, and we're going to talk about what it means and navigate its journey through Tanakh a little bit, and then the class will really begin. So there's in Bamidbar, Perek Tet, Pasuk Vav Yutet, Tet Vav Pasuk Yutet. V'haya be'achlechem milechem ha'aretz tarimu laHashem. And you eat the bread of the land, you shall set aside some as a gift for the Lord. Reshi arisotechem challah tarimu ketete תרימו אותה. בראשית אריסותיכם תתנו להשם תרימו לדורותיכם. As the first yield of your baking, you should set aside a loaf as a gift. You should set it aside as a gift from the threshing floor, and you should make it a gift for the Lord from the first yield of your baking. Can anyone tell me what that means? Anyone have anything to say? Okay, what does it mean? It means exactly what it's saying. From your dough, the first of it will come out. It says from the threshing floor, the first of your dough will come out. And where did that dough go? At the time of the commandment, it was the time of the Mishkan. The dough was taken, and the first 2 loaves were made and given as our gift to the Kohanim in the Bet HaMikdash, the Mishkan of the Bet HaMikdash. And they stayed on the shulchan with the, you put the lechem hapanim. So the mitzvah at the time was to take from our own doughs and give to the Kohanim. Obviously, we can't do that anymore. So now we take a small piece, which was not the size it was then. We take the kazayid out and we burn it for God. And that is called Challah. They did not, they ate it. The Kohanim weren't making the chali, we were the Challah, and we were dropping it to them. Actually, good question. So it goes on this table, the shulchan, and in remembrance of the 12 tribes, I believe there's 12 or 24. You would know? Okay. Anyway, it goes on the table and it stays, when you deliver it on Friday, it remains on the table for a week. The next Friday, when you bring your next set of loaves, the Kohanim eat the previous week's loaves, and the miracle was that it was fresh and it lasted as if it had just come out of the oven. Does that sound familiar to anything other than the time of the Bet HaMikdash, the Challah staying fresh? Okay, Hanukkah. Sarah, that's what I was going. When Yitzchak was comforted, because it says that, I don't know the specific word, and forgive me, I have it, but Yitzchak was comforted when he took Rivka into the tent of his mother, and all the things had dissipated, the candles, the cloud, and the challah, and he walked in, and it says he was comforted. Comforted means everything returned. The idea that whatever she made lasted. When her husbands come home from shul, and suddenly there's 14 men that you didn't know were coming for dinner, you'd smile. I think you'd go in the kitchen and you'd start like screaming and opening the cans of tuna fish. Sarah wasn't stressed. Whatever men came home from, wherever Abraham was in the field, he would bring home, and whatever food she made, whatever challah she created, lasted and stretched, and it was a very big blessing. So similarly, with the taste of the bread in the Bet HaMikdash, it stayed fresh all week long. So now I want to talk to you very much about something I was learning about, and I felt it was very connected to who we are as women. So I want to thank Mrs. Esther. I can't even remember her last name, and I'm going to tell you after class. She took the idea of challah and really brought it to something that we can connect with. So as parents, and we all love parenting classes, or grandparenting classes, as parents, if there was a guidebook, a shortcut, a trick of the trade on how to be a better parent, how to be a better listener, how to get it right, would we not grab any opportunity to do it the proper way we should? Well, we're blessed. We actually have full-on guidelines, recipe for success on how to be a great parent. And a lot of that can be found in the recipe of Challah, no pun intended. So we're going to navigate Challah, and I'm going to show you how we can really learn how to grow as parents, women, and community members through making Challah. So like I said, there are 3 very unique mitzvot that are specific to women, and I was honored to be chosen as one of them to talk about. So I know Mrs. Harari was here last week discussing family purity, and Mrs. Seton will be here next week. Yafa will be here next week, and she's going to be discussing candle lighting. God willing. So does anyone learn it and know what the 3 most important women mitzvot are? What the acronym for them is? Chana. Very good. It's very, very famous that Chana is the specific woman mitzvah. Challah, Nida, and Hadlakat Nero. Now, when you say the word Chana, what pops into your head? Tefillah, high-end concentration. Where did we find Chana? In the Mishkan, praying so hard and intense. Eye on the prize, knew what she wanted, wouldn't take her eyes off the idea that she wanted a child so badly. So much, so intense was her prayer to God. Eli thought she was drunk. Isn't that the story that he came in? He said she's so concentrated. At the time, Tefillah wasn't what it is now. Tefillah was different. She really created that. Her intensity, her concentration. So we learned from her how important the power of prayer is. And her hard efforts rewarded her with who? Shmuel, one of the greatest prophets. So we learn the power of tefillah from Chana. And our mitzvah are all related to tefillah. It gives us opportunities in all these three categories for open territory to pray to God. My son, I told him about Chana, and I said, we talked about the class over the last couple of days, and I think I shouldn't have talked to my son about it because I was pulling out a lot of feminine details, and I said the power of prayer, and he goes, I mean, there was a lot of people that taught us how to pray, but, so my son Victor, he's fun. So, the mitzvah. Are they all centered around something? Because I kind of see a theme when you think about the three. When I say Chana, does anyone feel any kind of centering? What they're all in the same category? Home, family, Shabbat. I mean, we light candles, we make Challah. So the Challah part of that really begins from Wednesday or Thursday. Your week is setting in, you're getting it together. You're making your list, your menu. What am I going to get from the butcher? Already your mind is thinking about what you're going to do. Some people set their table. I actually took that on this year and I love it. I set my table Thursday. It brings that holy environment into the house early in the week. We can't wait, And so the Challah is the preparatory step in getting yourself together. And then Friday, we light our candles, Nero, we usher in Shabbat. And then, not so comfortable for me to say this, and especially when I was talking about this class with my son, and he's like, why does family purity have anything to do with Shabbat? But okay, here we go. The pinnacle of the intense relationship of a husband and wife is really, they say Shabbat is like the highest level to be together. So really, all the three mitzvot specific to women are very closely intertwined with Shabbat. Shabbat has feminine properties. So does anyone know what we call Shabbat? There's a Shabbat Malkah. Exactly, the queen of Shabbat. It really has some sort of feminine power. Not so much like woman, but all the things that the femininity of us, the inner strength and the inner part of us. So they say that on Shabbat we have two souls. We're blessed with an extra soul, and it gives us another sense of godliness. All the things in the week kind of seem to dissipate. It gives us more of a whole, complete feeling that completed. I don't know if anyone feels that way, but that's really what Shabbat is about. And so it has feminine aspects in it. So all the mitzvot that we have are related to Shabbat. And Challah specifically has some feminine aspects. Okay, so I don't want to miss anything. There are 10 characteristics that a human embodies. There are 7 emotional characteristics, and there are 3 intellectual ones. There's Chokhmah, Bina, Bada'at, and we're going to go with those. Those are knowledge, understanding, and intellect. Something I actually learned recently that I didn't know is Chabad actually stands for Chokhmah, Bina, Bada'at. I learned a lot of what I'm speaking about from a class I had gone to. And so we're going to discuss Bina, which is one of the 10 characteristics of a human. feminine property, and it's the understanding of knowledge. It's taking something from nothing and being able to create it. And that's bina. That's understanding. Challah, in many places, is compared to bina, understanding. At this point in time, Challah for us, as we read it, has only been given as a mitzvah. In the Talmud is where we get it as a specific to us woman obligation. Right now, it's in the Torah and it covers everybody. But in the Talmud, it really talks about women and how it's our mitzvah and our obligation. So, Challah, bina, taking something that's raw and nothing. Does anyone know what the grain of flour is before it becomes flour? It's wheat. Wheat in a field is pretty. Wheat that we use for flour is picked, left out to dried. It's threshed and beaten until you're getting little seeds that they grind, and that's what makes flour. Alone, garbage, unedible, impossible. But with everything that we add, you're creating something. You're creating something from nothing. Anyone remember that book, Something from Nothing? You really are making something out of nothing. Similarly, the same with the parent. Everything starts as little seeds. It gestates, you nurture, you have a baby. Everything is about you nurturing that little seed inside until you create something. And what did we create? We birthed babies. How powerful to women that we're blessed with the opportunity to have a baby. We're on top of the world. But what's the first thing we do? We give the baby a breast. What's the first thing we do when we grind and make that flour and we pour all our ingredients? Before we even are allowed to shape it, we pull that challah. But I put all the ingredients. But I went to the supermarket. I went to the wheat field and I threshed and I beat. I carried that child for 9 months. I did. I nurtured it. I took care of it. I got up in the middle of the night to feed it. But really, everything's from God. Everything that we do is from God. And it's obvious. The challah, we stop what we're doing, and even though it's our hands that are working, we pull it out and we say, Harezu challah. This is for you, God. What I have is only because you gave me the opportunity that I'm the vessel to create, but without what you have, without what you gave me, I'm nothing. And the same. How could we have a child and not everything that we have is from God? It says in the Talmud, I'm going to backtrack 1 second, that when this mitzvah was given to women specifically, our creation of what we're making, all that bina and understanding of how to make raw materials and create, is so powerful that it's a higher level than if a woman was to give tzedakah. Our obligation, our ability to do such a thing is greater. Can anybody tell me why? I was shocked, to be honest. I mean, giving tzedakah, that's like number 1. Why? Because you're cooking, you're creating, you're making something, and you're sustaining somebody who needs it right now. Tzedakah, you give it to them. They need to figure out how to get it. It's another step in the process. If someone needs something, you're fulfilling it for them. You're handing them something tangible, sustainable at the very minute. A meal, a challah. You're helping somebody who needs it. So for us women, it might be different for men, but for us women, our level of helping to help somebody with food is a greater level than even giving charity. Okay, I keep going, but I just don't want to forget anything. Are we good? Is everyone getting what I'm saying? Of the charity versus, okay. So for us, because it's our obligation, our mitzvah to be able to create things that are from nothing, we really make chali out of individual things. And so you're helping somebody right now by giving them a meal or chali, by creating, you're helping someone who needs it ASAP. When you're giving money and they need a meal, they have to go and buy the food, cook the food, go to a store, spend money. So I don't know why it's exactly specific to us, but for us, our level of helping someone with a meal is greater than giving charity. And it's said in the Talmud. So we separate the challah, which is what I was telling you, and we give thanks to God for being able to nurture and gesture and put all the gestation, put all the seeds in together to make challah. This all happens before we even shape the dough. It's a very hard thing to find, especially with our kids, to connect to God in our days. Find the sources of things. You ask a kid, where'd the banana come from? The supermarket. You know, they can't even realize that, like it's so far beneath how we think of the way we do things. We think it's all us. But again, like I'm going to keep stressing, the idea of making Challah brings it all back to creation. Everything that we do is from God. So when I was thinking about that, I thought it's another way to talk to your kids about where we come from and how we don't just go out and buy things. Everything that we get is Hashem. There was a tree and it gets watered. Hashem sends rain, and that's how we have bananas. And we're lucky and plentiful that they're in the supermarket. But you have to think that everything is really from Hashem. So as women, we're natural, inherent nurturers. A baby is born regardless of the age right now. A baby is born, and every baby is born with eggs. The potential to be motherly. If you're a mom, if you're a grandma, if you're an aunt, and you're not a mom, we all have motherly inherent traits. We nurture, we take care of, we worry. Are you good? Are you okay? You make sure that everyone's sitting and has what they need. You're always worrying about people. Chava is called Em Kol Chai. She was actually called Em Kol Chai before she even had children. It's inherent in us to take care and to nurture. So it's our obligation. It's part of who we are. So when we make challah and we think of that, we think of the ingredients. Yeast is the dry material, and you add in it. Does anyone here make challah? Does anyone know? What's the two main beginning ingredients when you have the yeast? Warm water and sugar. Warm water. So water represents Torah. It represents, I want to just get this properly because I don't want to say anything that's not exactly how I learned it. Water represents Torah. Without Torah, we can't live. Without water, we can't live. We can live without food, but we definitely can't live without water. So Torah is water. Now what's the sweetness? The sweetness is all the things that we put into it. Our mitzvah, our hard work, our exercise, our shopping, all the things that we put into our Torah creates a full Jew. It's our life and our Torah values. And that is what the yeast is about. Because when that's added together, what happens to the yeast? It bubbles, it activates, it's moving. If you're not putting in all your parts as enough sugar or sweetener, it's not moving enough. But when you do what you enjoy doing, and by the way, it doesn't have to be sitting in a class every day. It's exactly what I said. It's doing the things that you enjoy, but just elevating them. And so elevating them means you're moving, you're making it exciting, you're getting the yeast to go, it's bubbling and it's activating. So as parents, the same. Everything that we do, we put in, and it instills in our kids to it's up to us to find the right things that activate our kids and that spark them in the right way. So what comes next? Salt. Now also remember, a lot of people have different takes on what ingredients symbolize, and I don't think that it's specific to symbolisms that are I think that it just represents. I don't think that you say one thing and that's exactly what this is. Oil is this and eggs is for this, but I think you can find representation. So with salt, which a lot of rabbis will agree, salt represents boundaries, discipline, not too much, not too little. Amazing that, does anybody know how much salt goes into challah? much sugar? How much sugar goes into challah? A cup and a half, a cup and a quarter. It's unbelievable how teeny tiny amounts of salt as compared to everything else that you put in there can make or break your challah. Discipline, borders, boundaries. It has to be the exact amount to work. Too much discipline, too little discipline, it's not going to work. But what do we remember? Sugar comes first. Always the love before being strong. But the right amount of salt goes in and it makes the challah right every time. So you add the rest of your ingredients. Some people say oil represents prosperity and richness and fullness. Flour represents sifting and through your negative. Everyone has a different take on what they would feel goes into the challah. But I do know you take your hands, you get dirty, you put in your hard work. It's hard. It's hard being a mom. It really is. It's hard being a grandma. It's hard being an aunt. We put in our hard work. We work at it. We take off our jewelry. We get dirty. Now we have bashes. We got bread machines. But, you really work hard on getting it together. An interesting side note is that at that point, when things are coming together, you can't make the beracha yet. Why? It's not ready. It's not ready because it's not integrated. It's not whole. It's all individual pieces coming together. It needs time to rise. So at that point, it's not ready. It's not up to the par of being able to be blessed. So we put in all our efforts, we get dirty, we work at it very, very hard. And then I think the hardest thing as a parent, what do? We wait so hard as a parent. We cover it, we put it in a warm place, I stick a blanket over it, and you let it sit. I think as a parent, that's probably my biggest struggle. I'm involved in something and I'm on my kids, and no, they need time. They need time to grow, to come out with the things that you put in. They need to come out. They need to rise and come out of it and grow on their own. It cannot be that you're sitting on top of them. You ever check your dough because you're in a rush and you need to keep checking it every 10 minutes? Nothing's happening. Time. And it's funny because sometimes your dough will be ready in 30 minutes. And sometimes your dough will be ready in 3 hours. There's no call. I mean, the weather, every dough has its own personality. Every kid in their right time and in their right space. It truly is. There's no two kids. Every person is unique, and every challah batch is the same. It's so unique. All of this building up. You finally go 2 hours later, and you take your dough, you take it out, and we're up to saying, get to this point. I want to make sure we're up to the point that we've been we're going to a pinnacle. We're about to pray. It's really and truly a holy time. The heavens are open. They call this time auspicious time, specific to women. It is the time to pray for anybody, for anything that you need. Even more so, they say it's a time to pray for other people. Hashem will hear you. Use those moments. They're very infrequent. Use it to pray. And we say, Harezu Challah. So I wanted to just read because I don't know if you all, I don't understand Hebrew that great. I try. But I want to read to you the Yehidatzon in English because it really is a very special prayer. So, we say the bracha, Lafrish Challah Terumah. Harezu Challah. You hold it up and you say, this is the Challah. That's actually Challah, the separation of the piece. That's Challah. May it be your will, Hashem, our God of our fathers, that the mitzvah of separating of the Challah be considered as if I have fulfilled it in its fullest details and its minuteness. And may it be considered that my separating of the Challah as a sacrifice that was sacrificed on the altar, which is accepted with favor. And just as in earlier times, when the Challah was given to the Cohen, it was an atonement of our sins, so it may be an atonement for my sins now. And then I will be as if I was reborn, innocent of all sin and iniquity. Then I will be able to fulfill the mitzvah of the holy Shabbat and the mitzvah of holidays with my husband and my children, and be sustained by the holy holiness of these days and by the influence of the mitzvah of Challah. May our children always be sustained by the hands of the Holy One, blessed be He, in His great compassion and kindness and with much love. And may it be the mitzvah of Challah be received as if I had given a tenth of a tithi, and in the same as I am now fulfilling the mitzvah of Challah with a full heart, may it be awakened the compassion of the Holy One to guard me from distress and affliction all the days. Amen. That's a powerful prayer. Sometimes we just run through it. It's beautiful. It's holy. Use it. Use it to pray. We have so much to pray for. Delta, let's get rid of this already. But we have so many things going on in our lives. We need to pray. Use it properly. So we pray. We take the piece, we pray. And then we shape. We direct Allah in the proper way. Obviously, everyone makes their own shapes. What I can tell you is that at this point, you're not adding in more sugar and more salt and more oil. Whatever dough you got is what you got. Hard, rough, lumpy, soft, small, short, tall, fat, big, small. You got to work with what you got. They say that Chanoch Lena'ar al pi darko. You got to teach each kid in his own way. Your dough is ready. Whatever it's going to be is up to you now. So it's up to you to shape your children and believe in them and however they're going to grow and rise. And then you put it to rise again. And you know that everything that you put and you worked into will truly grow. And has anyone ever had a challah that didn't taste unbelievable? You put it in the oven, you walk into a house, down the block, you can smell what it tastes like. They actually say that challah stands for chelik le'olam haba. The taste of it is like a portion from what it's going to be like in the next world. Sweetness, goodness. That's our kids. Everything we put in is what we're going to get out of it. All that hard work, it's really what we're going to get out of it. So, I want to, where are we with time, by the way? Okay. So, I want to end with a story, and then I want to talk about some just halachot and questions about Challah specifically. But there's a story that somebody recently told me, and I felt it was very connected. It's about a boy who was in the city, and he saw his teacher. It was a Sunday, and he saw his teacher online on his way into a conference. And he saw his teacher. He knew it was going to be a long day, and he opened up his backpack, and he pulled out his biggest, finest, nicest red apple, and he ran over to the teacher, and he said, "Teacher, I know it's going to be a long day for you. I want you to have something to keep you, to keep you sustained." And the teacher said, "Thank you." And the kid hung around, and he was waiting, and the teacher is online, and he went into the conference and came out of the conference, and the boy was waiting to see what was going to happen, waiting for the teacher to go and say how great the apple was. And he comes out after a long day, and he sees the teacher walk to a park bench, sit down, open up his little case, and take out the apple, and he takes off his jacket, and he puts his bag down, and he starts to concentrate, and the boy runs over and he says, "I don't understand. You were inside all day long. I gave you this apple. I figured, you'd eat before you have a whole long day." And the teacher said, "Well, that's interesting. It's how you see it. We're different, you and I. And that's why I'm the teacher and you can learn. You say the beracha to eat the apple, but I eat the apple to say the beracha." And it's the same with challah. We can make it. We can, the freezers are empty. We need bread. It's Friday coming. We have a company. Or we could use the opportunity to bring meaning into everything that we do and rise our families and the people around us to the occasion. So I really think that's meaning. Challah is very meaningful. That's what I'm saying. I probably missed a few things because I wasn't looking down. But any questions about anything? A very quiet audience. I don't know if that's good or bad. The blessing. There's actually, my sister-in-law gave me once. there's a specific way. You say the blessing, you say the hiratzon, you say the harezu challah, and then there's actually a time when you could say it's specific to Hilim, and you give like a little tzedakah, and it's before you start shaping. Before you start shaping. It's after the hiratzon, before you start shaping. Harezu challah, hiratzon, and then you pray to the person. Okay, so I have some halachot, things that I've learned. Oh, I actually wanted to share one more thing with you. Just because it's in relation to what I teach at Hillel. I thought it was very interesting. Like challah in general, when we say the word challah, we're thinking the loaves that we buy, in the store or all, but really challah, like I've been teaching you, it actually means the separation of the piece. The challah that we have now, it's not exactly our tradition. In Aleppo, the way I teach my students is it wasn't challah, that didn't exist. There was no loaves in Syria. We had Syrian bread. We had pita bread, water, and flour, because they didn't believe that sugar, anything added, would make it a derivative that wasn't hamotzi. So that our heritage is that it was so specific that it was flour and water, and that's why they had Syrian bread. And I sat with my grandma just the other day, Grandma Yvette, and I asked her again because I wanted to make sure. They had a very big custom, and it's very true. And a couple of people that I know still hold to this. Not only is it Syrian bread, but it's 12 pieces in remembrance of the 12 tribes. The way that it was in the Shulchan, they put 12 pieces of pita bread. So I asked, I said, Grandma, like, when did you have time to do this? And she said, every Monday, they would make a batch, and they rolled 100 rolls, and they didn't have ovens. So they would put it on these massive trees, and the bread man would come, and he'd pick up the trees from everybody's houses, and he'd go to the oven in the community, he'd bake the bread, and he'd bring back the trees. And she said, and we had 100 Syrian breads for the week. And every Monday, we needed more bread. And I thought that was very interesting. Another halacha, something just now that I learned recently, my in-laws were over, my father-in-law came, and he said specifically that the salt had to be on the table. So I reached out to the rabbi, and I asked him, I didn't know that salt had to be on the table before you even say kiddush. And he said one of the reasons is because the bread that you have in front of you is almost like it's a korban, because you took that piece and you burned it. So having salt on the altar was a thing, was something that they did in the Beit HaMikdash. There was salt on the Mizbeach, for the Mizbeach, for everything that the korban. So you have to have salt on the table. Another pasuk, I was going to make source sheets, but then I didn't. Something I thought was interesting was that on the Shabbat table, we have a challah board. We put the 2 loaves and we cover it. Now, you'll say that it's because of the kiddush and the embarrassment of the challah, so we don't want to, hamotzi usually comes first, and on Friday night, kiddush comes, so we don't want to embarrass it, so we cover it. But I learned another interesting fact is we very much symbolize what it was like in the desert, the 40 years, that Hashem would give the man on Friday 2 loaves, so that's why we put 2 pieces of bread, and it fell on dew, and dew covered it. It was under and on top. So we it's symbolized by covering on bottom and on top. Challah. What else? The 9th month. I investigated. I said, why the 9th month? Why specifically the 9th month? Why is it that everyone has to be Challah in the 9th month? Because Chava, one of the things was that she was going to have a hard childbirth. And so we do this very specific mitzvah for women so that we have easy childbirth, that it reverses the curse of Chava. Any questions?